Hi there, thanks for joining me in this video. This video I would like to discuss briefly about humanitarian and compassionate applications and what they are and who qualifies and whether you should apply for this or think of alternative options. Humanitarian and Compassionate also stands for the acronym of H&C. So you might go on the CIC website and you might see both of them. Don't confuse this H&C application with making H&C arguments with a particular application. So for example, you could technically apply for a spousal application and include some H&C arguments. Or you can do a study permit application and make some H&C arguments where you want the officer to be a bit compassionate based on your unique situation. That's not what this video is about. This video is about individuals who are in Canada who have, most of them are illegal in the country and they do not wish to go back to their home country for a particular reason. Think of this type of application very similar to a refugee application. So most individuals who apply for refugee, they demonstrate to the immigration officer that they fear persecution if they go back to their home country. Now, H&C applications are similar, but you don't have to necessarily fear persecution. There could be other reasons why you want to apply for an H&C application. Most of our clients who come to apply for the Humanitarian and Compassionate application are individuals who have been in Canada for a long time. They usually came on a visitor visa or a study permit or a work permit, something temporary, and for whatever reason they decided to stay and they are not able to go back to their home country. There's either some family issues that they're having where it's very difficult for them to go back, and if they do go back, then possibly there's some fear of persecution or fear of threat, or some difficulties that they may face going back home. The other thing that's very important with H&C application is the time that you spend in Canada and what you've been doing in Canada while you've been in Canada. What I mean by that is the longer you stay in Canada, the more connections you build. And that's very important for a H&C application. We have to show that you are a productive member of society, that you're doing everything you can to make Canada work for you. And really, the only thing that's holding you back is that piece of paper that gives you legal status. But other than that, you are contributing. With H&C applications, it's technically okay to show the immigration officer that you have been working. I know a lot of clients get a little bit nervous because they're working illegally or they're working cash and so forth, and they don't want to be charged with a criminal offense. So immigration wants to see not only how long you've stayed in Canada, but what you've been doing while you've been in Canada illegally, whether that's working or studying or doing whatever it is that you're doing. The more connections you create to the community, the higher the chances of success with an H&C. So when you are looking at filing an H&C, do as much as you can to connect yourself to the community. Gym memberships, attending church, for example, or a mosque, or wherever you like to pray, having friends and family that can write reference letters to state that they are here to support you and to grow into this culture. Also, if you have children who potentially are Canadian and you're staying back because of them, all of this are documentation that you want to provide to the officer to show that you are integrated into the Canadian society, and that's very important. So again, being illegal is one of the aspects that H&C applications look for, and also being illegal in the country and having been in the country for many years. So a client who's been in the country for 3 years versus a client who's been in the country for 20 years illegally, obviously the one that has here 20 years has a little bit higher chance of approval because the likelihood of that client having a lot more connections to the community is higher. Also, you want to include, like I said, your friends and family that are Canadian citizens or permanent residents, include reference letters, include anything that shows that you are connected and that you are trying to make Canada work. So that's one set of documentation. Obviously, the second set of documentation, you want to explain to the officer why you have overstayed your welcome, why you cannot go back to your home country, but also why you cannot go back to any other country but Canada. Why is it that it's absolutely vital that you stay back in Canada? H&C applications do have a very long processing time, so you do have to be very patient with that. Plus, when you submit an H&C application, you don't automatically get implied status, meaning by filing an application, you're not all of a sudden legal. You have to wait until the first stage is approved, that's called approved in principle, and that can take several months. Once you get the first stage approved in principle, then you are eligible to apply for an open work permit, and once you get that open work permit, then that would be your next legal status. But until then, you are still illegal in the country, and this is very important. And until you get the first stage approved, there is always a chance of a possible removal proceedings to be started against you. And if a removal proceeding gets started against you, then unfortunately it really affects your H&C application in a great deal, because you can't really apply for an immigration status in Canada when you have a removal order against you, whether that being an exclusion order or deportation. So really, it is vital that you start the H&C application as soon as possible and before you have a removal proceeding against you. If you're in this particular situation and you have further questions, feel free to give me a call. I'm here to assist and answer any questions you may have. Until next time.